Hello, hello. I think we're live. I'm going to wait a moment to see some attendees join. There we go. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Boom Learning Back to School Symposium 2023. I can hear myself. Oopsies. I can hear my YouTube stream. This is the Boom for Common Subjects, ELA, Math, and Social Studies. Today, joining me is Angie Seltzer of K8 Math Sense, Emily from Sitting in History, and Ann Tracy of Little Library of Learning. Today, they're going to be presenting a bit about what they've made and their strategies for engaging with the students and making their students happy and love learning from the things they make. There's a chat bubble down below for Zoom if you'd love to tell us where you're from and what kind of boom cards you make and how long you've been making them. That'd be awesome to hear from you. And also a Q&A bubble as well. That's a great place for us to find questions for the presenters, as well as for near the end of the webinar when we'll have a little more popcorn discussion and we can answer some of your more direct questions. Without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to Angie from K8 Math Sense, who will talk a bit about math boom cards, and I love them. I think they're really fun and interesting. So please, Angie, let us see what you've made.
Thank you so much, Kyle. I live near Dayton, Ohio. I've been creating boom cards for about 6 years, and I have retired from a background of editing textbooks and assessment resources for major math textbook publishers for elementary and high school. So now I take time to tutor mathematics and to write supplemental materials. So my boom cards are self-checking activities originally based on printable card sets. I created more than 100 sets from primary through middle school, plus quite a few sets for basic facts. And these are available as PDFs in the printable section of Boom, but let me show you how it works with the online part. So let me share my screen. Okay, it just takes a moment to get this up here. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yep, we can see you.
Okay. I'm sorry, this is not the right screen. I'm not sure why that came up. Hold on.
We're seeing the your library screen.
Oh, for some reason I'm seeing the main screen. So let me go back. So you're seeing this. Can you now see where it says math review, math review?
Yep.
For some reason,
Yes.
For some reason, a different one was coming up on my computer. Okay, so here we are. So let's go to a third grade deck. So on the left, I have the topic says the different grade levels. So the third grade math set, we're going to go down to fractions on the number line. This is actually the most popular game set that people have purchased, and it's also very popular with Boom. So on all my decks, you can see images of math playing cards, and there's different kinds of cards. In this example with fractions on the number line, the star cards show a fraction. The cards marked with a little triangle show the fraction in words, or a fraction in words. And then we have the cards marked with a square that show a bar, and cards marked with a circle that show a location on the number line. So students do some analysis and decide which two cards represent the same fraction. It won't necessarily be one of the star cards. In this case, we have 3/4, and we have 3/4 as a bar on the number line. And the students will get the ding sound. Okay, here's the next screen. Again, there are various types of cards. So students get a lot of practice as they analyze and match cards. In this case, we have 1/3 and 1/3 that just happen to be coming up in the first two spots, but those cards do appear in random positions each time the student plays. On this deck, on this screen, notice we have them just matching the fraction word and the fraction symbol. So anyways, there's 20 cards in a deck, and they can, 20 screens with the playing cards shown. So students get a lot of practice as they go through those. Now let's look at a 5th grade deck. I'm gonna quit this one. Go back to the grade levels. Here's a 5th grade deck on understanding volume. Again, these are designed to really help students understand what's going on with volume. So the cards with the star just show a rectangular prism. The cards with the squares show the top layer of cubes and a height, so they can view it and decide that the top layer on this card is 3 by 3. So they can match these two 3 by 3 by 3 cards, or maybe there would be the expression or the volume. In this case, they've got two that have the same dimensions. On this one, you have to do a little mental math, but the numbers have been chosen to help do mental math more easily, because most of them with the dimensions have 5s in them. So 5 times 2 gives you 10, and 10 times 4 is easy to compute mentally. Here we have, excuse me, this match would be 5 times 5 times 4 is 100. Okay, I'm going to show you a different deck. So we'll cut out this one. Let's go back to an 8th grade example. So the 8th grade example I'm going to show is fractions as repeating decimals. So I'll just show this really briefly. So with this, they have either a fraction as a numerator and denominator, or a fraction as division, or as a overbar, or as the digits that repeat, like 0.2727 repeating. In this case, it's just matching the division. So again, it helps them understand that a fraction can mean division, and that repeating decimals can be shown in 2 ways. Now notice that the corner of the screen underneath the logo has a 4-character code. In this case, it's 8N12. Everything I have is closely matched to objectives. 8N12 means grade 8, the number strand, the first cluster in Common Core, and the second goal on a free goal list that I also offer. Let me go back and show you another freebie that is available that shows, that helps you see the different ways these are aligned with Common Core. If I choose this grade 8 math review deck, which is a freebie, you'll see that at the bottom of the screen, it has a goal 8E11. So that's grade 8 equations and cluster 1 and so on. Let me skip and show you the next one because I'm getting close to running out of time. So here's the repeating decimal sample screen. So these free decks have 10 different sample screens. They're also color coded. The green corners are geometry, the orange or gold is the algebra equations, and so on. And there's goals at the bottom. Also, if you look at the printables, if you know those codes, it's very easy to see the same thing. So let me go back to my screen real quickly and show you that if you click on printables, you can download a list of goals, and that the goal list is set up in sections for the different domains or and clusters within Common Core, but then they have a goal number. So underneath each one of these color bands, there's a list of objectives. And if you know a specific objective that has a boom deck, you can also find the printable by using that same goal number. In this case, 5F26 stands for a boom deck with multiplying fractions or dividing unit fractions. And you can also click to see the printable games for dividing unit fractions. So I think I'm out of time. So I will stop there and I can maybe show a little bit more if there's a specific question.
Wow, thank you very much. That's awesome. I really like your boom cards. But I'm kind of a math person. I was wondering, could you show us a quick example of a geometry
Sure.
item you've created?
Okay, let me make sure I get the right screen this time. So I'll go back to decks. Area of a triangle is a freebie that anyone can download. So for this one, students can see the dimensions of a rectangle, and half of that rectangle would be a triangle. And so the formulas relate to taking half of the 2 dimensions that are marked. So in this case, you'd look at these different parts and see if you have a match somewhere. So I didn't preview this, but let's see. 7 times 12 be 42. Looks like these 2 must match because, wait a minute, that's 100. Yeah, half of 160 is 80. Okay, so there's one of your geometry ones. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you so much. We have another good question, but I'm going to save it till the end. It's about TEKS from Texas and if you've correlated at all with Texas.
We can wait to the end if you want.
Okay. I'll save it till the end. But thank you so much for showing us your work. I think it's really inspiring.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Emily from Sitting in History is here to talk about boom cards that she's created, which are excellent as well. I'm very happy that she's making boom cards for our store because it's a niche that we need more of. So please, Emily, let us see what you've been building.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Is that large and visible?
Looks good. Looks good.
Okay. All right. I'm Emily Rayo. I always tell my kids Rayo sounds like mayo. They never pronounce my name right. This is my 6th year teaching. I teach 4 grades of social studies at a small K-8 in Oregon. And it's wonderful. I get to see my students for 4 years in a row, see their growth. I love it. I started creating boom cards back in 2020 during the pandemic when I needed a way for my students to still have practice and still hold them accountable, but through a computer. And I am also a corgi mom to Pino there on the left-hand side. He is currently asleep at my feet down here. He is a big fat mama's boy. So for boom cards in social studies, I use them primarily for extra practice for kids. I use them for early finisher activities and for emergency subplans. All the boom cards that I have created and that are posted in my store relate to practicing US states, capitals, and their regions. And I'll talk about a few other ideas if you're wanting to create your own that you can also do for social studies. So for the practice, I've set up my boom cards so there are different levels for each type so that I can easily differentiate for kids as they practice. So students who have never touched a state before or looked at a state map, there are ones that have 4 of the states on a map, and then they have the 4 names off to the side. There are ones where they have just a large map with 3 options to choose from. As we kick it up in difficulty, they just have the state outline, or maybe the state with the capital start on there and 3 options to choose. And then we really kick it into high gear and they just get the state option. And then they have to write in the answer. And it will, if they don't type it in and spell it correctly, it will mark it wrong. Capital, lowercase, doesn't matter, but they do have to actually spell the state correctly in order to get the answer right. So it makes it really easy for kids to track and see, all right, I nailed this one, let's try this one. I can see on the reports side of Boom and see how kids are doing as well, or if they're just practicing the same deck over and over and over and over again, as middle schoolers do. I also have used my Boom cards as early finisher activities. Boom cards to my kids are like mini games. So I just have the link to their login screen in Google Classroom. And then if they finish early, they know where to go to log in and see. I've just assigned all of the decks to them so they have access to everything. So here is some examples. They've got, dragging the state name to the correct state, drag and drop and correct your answer. We've got Delaware. And then as we move through here, they have the state on the map. This is my freebie that's in Boom that you are free to go use in your classroom as soon as you get started. So they have 4 state options and they need to match to the 4 maps that they have. And then I also use them as emergency subplans, right? When the unexpected happens, Boom cards are still there. As long as your students have used them before, they're really great to, at least if you've got a short lesson, you don't know what to fill, you give them 15 minutes, they can practice their states, their capitals, their regions, they can compete against their neighbor, do the same deck, see who can get the better score. And then you as a teacher can then, check that report the next day or whenever to see that they all actually did their work, which is great. So I've got some region decks here. So they have all of the states in the region and they need to select the right state, right? So we've got Maine, they have to do it for the capital as well as another set that I have. Okay. This is up in the Northeast. And then there's also, we've got the South region for the capitals. So every format of my card has a capital version, a regional version, and a state version. There are a ton of different ways to use Boom cards in social studies. And as Kyle said, I think it's a missed opportunity for a lot of social studies teachers or self-contained classrooms as well. You can use these to practice countries, country capitals, oceans and continents. I am shocked every year when my 8th graders come to me after having them for 3 years and they still stare at me and think China is a continent. So everyone needs to practice. You can use them for map skills, either different types of maps or different parts of maps, how to use latitude and longitude, looking at different government types. Okay, if that's one of your standards, it is here in Oregon. Students need to be able to identify the different types of governments there are. You could use them as timeline activities, learning about US presidents. Like my high school junior year teacher, we had to memorize every president in order with the years that they served. Would be a great way for students to practice. They're great for vocabulary review. I think there's a way you can use text boxes in Zoom, so you can easily do it as a way for analyzing primary sources. If they're shorter, quicker, like political cartoons or something, would be an easy way for kids to be able to self-check how they're doing. They're great for unit reviews, okay? Or if you do any sort of reflection work for projects or end of year, anything of the sort. Right? The options are pretty limitless with social studies, just like math, language arts, all the things. I do want to go back and show here just a couple of other options here. So these are this is the filling in the correct state. They get the state on the map with a text box to then type in versus, the multiple choice options or regions here. And that's all I have. I would love, if you have ideas or want tips or tricks on how to use these in your social studies classroom, I would love for you to reach out. There's my, social media, email, carrier pigeon, whatever is fine. And then this is the cover of what my card looks like for the free deck in my store.
This is awesome. Thank you very much, Emily. I feel like I need your boom cards. I want to play Angie's for fun, but I actually need I need yours. I need to go back to school and learn things that I missed.
I actually had to assign these to my mom because she realized she didn't know any states or capitals, and so she used them to practice herself.
it could be great for even me to memorize them and like catch up, I suppose is the right term. I do have a question for you. It's pretty simple. I noticed Angie is doing something similar and coding using color codes. Could you explain your colors?
Yeah, of course.
Just what are you doing with the color?
Change my screen here. So all of my, slowly coming in. There we go. We good?
Yep, I can
Okay.
see it now.
I color coded all of my decks to make it easier. The peachy colored ones are all going to be for different regions. The gold color are all for capitals, and then the teal color are all related to states. And then the bundles are also coded the same way. So the blue one is including all of the state ones. The yellow one includes all of the capitals ones, and then the region ones are thrown in both.
All right. Okay. I like that. That's easy to read.
Yeah. Easy for kids to identify too in a
Sure.
quick moment.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Emily. I love this material that you've created. It's very niche, which is very good for you. So please keep it up. I'm going to go shopping there. I'd love to introduce Ann Tracy next of Little Library of Learning. She has lots of amazing things to share with you all today as well. So please, Ann, thank you for being here, and let's see what you've got.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ann Tracy. I'm going to share my screen. Just 1 minute. Hold on, sorry. The desktop, get my PowerPoint. I was a school librarian for more than 20 years, and today we're going to talk about using boom cards in ELA, and the library is very much related to ELA. A little bit about myself. Sorry, I'm just doing this incorrectly. 1 minute. So I have a master's in English and another master's in library science. I am a Google certified educator, levels 1 and 2. That's me in the library. I live in New York with my Cocker Spaniel, Killian. My boom store is called Little Library of Learning. That's also the name of my Teachers Pay Teachers store and my blog. As a librarian, I do have some library boom decks. One is putting books in alphabetical order by the author's name if they're fiction books, or putting books in Dewey Decimal order if they're nonfiction. These are draggable. You put the spine of the book onto the bookcase. The other one is about book care. Is it an X or a check standing on a book? Is that a good thing to do? Keeping your book out in the rain, is that a good thing to do? And the one with the pirates is sorting books into fiction and nonfiction. And you drag these pirates and their books into the right treasure chest. So there are a number of areas that you can use boom cards for in ELA, such as reading comprehension, vocabulary, parts of speech, prefixes and suffixes, synonyms and antonyms, and all kinds of phonics activities. These are some of my ELA decks. We have choose the correct synonym and build a snowman. After every couple of correct answers, they get to build another part of the snowman, his face, his hat, his mittens, so on. Below that is building CVC words. So we have an audio clip and you say build a word and they drag the sunflower letters into place to make the CVC word. Then we have one for Veterans Day where you would drag the correct word into the blank. You could use fill in the blank for this, and these ones are drag and drop text boxes. A soldier was proud to receive a medal, MEDAL, or a medal, METAL, for bravery. And the other one is also building a turkey after choosing the correct word. So today I'm going to show you how to build a deck. It is called the Feed the Friends activity. You may have seen these in other subject areas. And this is about synonyms. You have a target word big, and then there are 3 words on the fish, large, small, and tiny, and you would feed the correct synonym to the shark. And Shark Week has been everywhere on the TV, so it's a good one for Shark Week. I ordinarily start out in PowerPoint, and I will put a text box with the word and group it with the fish. Then if you right click or control click, you can save all those images and then I upload them into Boom. There are a number of clip artists that have these Feed the Friends clip art sets: Chirp Graphics, Erin Colleen Design, Lee Mesh, Scrapping Doodles, GG Designs. You might want to put a nice background. You can just put a plain color background, but I like kind of the scenic ones, depending on the theme of the deck. They come in a set. So this one was the ocean animals, all the animals and what they would probably feed on. This one is farm animals and what they would feed on. I actually have a rhyming words activity using this set. Some of them are not animals. This is for Christmas: feed Santa a cookie, feed the reindeer a carrot, and so on. This one is Halloween friends, with all the things these Halloween monsters might eat. And camping friends: feed the tent a sleeping bag, feed a log to the campfire. So let's go to Boom and we'll see how this is done. Okay, just quickly preview the deck and I'm going to very quickly show you how to build it. So here we have our shark and our target word on the wooden sign is big. And we have large, small, and tiny. Now these are all draggable, but only one of them is correct. So we're going to take large and feed it to the shark. The word disappears, we click submit, and we find out we are correct. Okay, on the manta ray, the target word is true. I'll show you what happens if you put the wrong one in. So if you say fake, whoops, it pops back out and they have another chance to try again. So true would be real. And then small, be tiny, get, find, loud, oops, noisy. Okay, so then how would you do this? Basically, what you would have is, I'm going to have to go back to the studio instead of preview. A minute. Okay, so we're in the studio, which is how to build a Boom card deck. And we have a blank card. I already put the target word in just to save a little time. So we have cold. I'm going to put in our background image. So put in our ocean. If you go up here to image, we can drag in the shark. A little smaller. Okay. For the feed the animal activity, you need to duplicate the animal or whatever it might be. So over here under duplicate, I'll just offset him a tiny bit. And then we need the things that he's going to eat. Sorry. So we have warm. We have hot. And we have chili. Not that kind of chili. Okay, the animal that is on the bottom needs to be marked as a drop zone. The words that you are going to feed him need to be marked as draggable, but only one of them is the correct answer. So that would be chili. You see the little pointing finger? We're going to click on that and drag it to the flag. That indicates it's the correct answer to go in the drop zone. The top animal has to be marked as draggable, and then just be sure in your, if you know what Z order is, the layers, that has to be on to the front. I'm just going to pull him back into line, and we'll just see if this worked correctly. So our target word is cold. The synonym for that is chili, and that is correct. Okay. Sorry. Quit. Yes. Okay. And just to finish up, as with all boom card decks, you need to go to details and fill in a brief description, a price, give credit to your clip artist, keywords, the grade level, the subject, if you want it to play in sequential or random order. And if you sell them on other marketplaces like TPT, once you publish the deck, you will get a link to put in your TPT product for buyers to access. And that basically is how you make boom decks for ELA.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anne. I like your shark. It's and you have a turtle, a tortoise. I'm sorry, a sea turtle.
Sea
Some-
turtle.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that was awesome. Yeah, that's a little trick where the things that you drag on the screen can hide under each other, and that's why there's that visual trick of making the drop zone on top. That way the fish disappear by hiding under the shark. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you all for presenting. If there's anyone in the audience has questions for the panelists, please go ahead and type them in the Q&A chat or in chat, and we will direct them to the audience. But at the moment, I just have a few questions that might help steer the conversation a bit. Angie, someone had a question for you about techs in Texas, because some of the Common Core, there's different standards now. Some of the states are breaking away with their own standards. Are you taking any inspiration from those too when you organize your listings?
Let me just say that in my previous work for publishers, when I had to compare content across different states, there was a lot of consistency, and honestly, most of the same topics appear somewhere in the curriculum. So if it doesn't seem like there's a deck at the grade level that you're looking for your Texas objectives, you could just use a keyword search and see if there's something there that might be at the next grade level or previous grade level. You can also look for a crosswalk type document. Often states will create a crosswalk document that lists their state objectives and how it aligns or doesn't align to Common Core standards. So once you know that Common Core number, it will give you your grade level, it will give you your domain, or we used to, anyways, they use the word domain for different areas of math like algebra, geometry, measurement, and so on. So you'd find that. And then if you look in my decks, you can look for the grade level and the color and, look at the list of what's available.
Okay, I see. And you think you'll update as things change? Obviously, you'll.
If there seems to be a lot of demand for putting in the text objectives, I could add those in as keywords to my descriptions, but I haven't done that as of now. You can see what's available pretty easily if you download the free, look at the free sampler for each grade level for 3 through 8. And then you can skim through that to see if there's something that's going to help your students with some of your Texas objectives.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, thank you for answering that. Emily, I was wondering, could you show us one of your social study decks that your students really like, or the one that's really popular? Sorry to put
Sure.
you on the spot so suddenly like that.
No worries. I just missed the unmute button. All right. Moved over so here. Yeah, I would say one of the ones, my free one is the most popular one, even with my students. They like to see it on the map. The next ones would be where you just get the one single state here, so that you can see it on a map. I know as the students learn them more and more, seeing the individual state, they like that challenge, but starting out, they much rather see it here placed on the map, and then they just have 3 options to click. And then if they get it right, it'll move them on to the next one. If they get it wrong, okay, then they get another chance. It'll cross it out for them. So it's just an easier way to learn them when they're just getting started there.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So the lower, if it's not as challenging, it maybe gets played repeatedly more often.
Yeah, which is why I like the reports. Then I can see how those kids are doing, if they're taking the easy way out and just doing that same deck over and over and over again, but they got 100% like 6 times in a row, or if they are actually using it and improving each time.
Sure. All right. Awesome. Thank you for showing that.
Yeah.
Stephanie, if you have any questions you see, please let me know, because I'm running out of them. But I'm wondering, Anne, do you have any advice for publishers who are just getting started? Like something you learned early on that was like, oh, that's just really useful.
Well, I started out like a lot of teachers using the boom decks in my room, and before I was a seller and a publisher. And I think it's good to, look around the site and see what's out there and try out. There's so many, free decks you can try out, or you could, buy one for like a modest price. And I recommend starting simple. Like yesterday, I went to the master class, and it's like, wow, really like advanced techniques and so forth. But if you start out simple, it seems like magic to the children. Just start out with, like a background, buy some nice clip art, have like I do a lot of with the lower grades, being in elementary school. So the boom decks are fairly simple, not like those geometry ones. Oh my goodness. So I think I would start out very simple, and then you could add in the fancy. Like I never really did the feed the animal thing until very recently, because again, you have to be aware of the layers and the order, and making sure everything is linked the way it ought to be linked, and so on. So I would recommend just starting simple, using them yourself, practicing with them, starting out with very simple designs, and then you could build your way up from there.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, start simple. Don't try to rush. That's the big one I've heard from other publishers as well. Hi, Stephanie.
Yeah, and anyone can answer this in any order. I mean, maybe we start, Emily was discussing this a little bit, but can you give some of our attendees just real world applications for where you best fit boom cards into your curriculum? So I know some of you, you're one-on-one teachers, but in the classroom as well. And I also am still tutoring right now. So I use them as well. And one thing I really like about them is that I can get very granular with my students' issues. So if I've got a child that needs to work on morphology or multiple, multisyllabic words, I can really go narrow in on what that particular student needs. So I guess I'm just wondering whether you are one-on-one as a tutor or you're in a classroom, where do you fit boom cards in to your daily routine when you're working with a student or students? And you want to start?
Sure. Well, I'm very fortunate in the library. We don't have to give any grades, no report cards, no progress reports, nothing. I guess we could just have fun and games all day long. Who knows? I think for the classroom teachers, again, the review of the skills, I think they can use them, you know, in small groups. They might be testing in the back of the room and they need something to keep their little guys busy. And if they have Chromebooks or iPads, they can, you know, do them themselves. I usually put directions right on each page of the deck, so they don't have to bother the teacher. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And I give, you know, very succinct but clear directions. In the library, the way I use them is I have a smart board, and as I'm checking out books, I give them something on the smart board. So they know, get the book checked out quietly, quickly, and line up by the smartboard. And I usually put up a boom deck there, and they can just play it. So it keeps things a little bit orderly, something for them to do. And it's, you know, relatively quick. So I probably use them in a little different way, but that's how I use them.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that with us. What about you, Angie? Where do you use them?
When I'm tutoring my students, we often go through like a review packet of different topics. And if there's certain topics that they have trouble with, I choose one of the ones that a boom deck is available for and go ahead and pop up on my screen, and they can do a little work right with me on trying that particular topic. Kyle, can I take another minute or two just to point out those freebies? Because I kind of rushed through it. And this is a way to help your math teachers see what might be available and how to find things easily. So I'm going to share an Acrobat screen. Can you see it now?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. So I popped up, I think, grade 8 before, but this is the grade 6 freebie from the printable section of the Boom Store, where you can print out a list of 6th grade math goals. These are based on Common Core, but about 90% of it would probably apply to other states as well. And again, the shaded part is actually your Common Core cluster statements, like compute fluidly with multi-digit numbers and find common factors of multiples. And those are broken down into different goals. So like multiplying decimals is a different goal than dividing decimals. Finding common factors is different than finding least common multiples, and so on. But in terms of my deck numbering, for this, it would be grade 6, it would be N, 6N, and then you'd have your cluster number, which would be like 6N2. And then if it's greatest common factor, you'd be looking for 6N24 or 25. You see how that becomes a 4-digit code or 4-character code. Then if you download this freebie, you can also go to the free Boom Interactive Sampler that has different decks. And if you want to go to any of those specifically, there's links to the ones that are in my Boom store, okay? And then there's also links to the printable games, because those same kind of cards that are on the screen are available as printable decks of cards. And students can, and I do this with my students all the time, we play card games such as Uno, where you match a value, or the suit, or you can play a game like concentration, where maybe the teacher, like for this area of a triangle, maybe they just lay out the cards that have the triangle and the answer, like the area, and the students match those. There's 9 triangles, they'd match them to 9 values for area. You know, depending on the level of your student, you can adjust it for difficulty when you're doing hands-on matching. So anyways, check out the printable section of the store, and you can get those free ones. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, those are great in class. Check sheets and a way to lay out what the standard is. Because Lisa is already saying, Angie, the list would also be good for me to list my texts that match the Common Core standard. So there seemed to be a little overlap with them where, oh, I can translate. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. We had
that
another
little checklist on the right, you could use that to write dates that you cover different topics in your class. you could also write like what other activities on Boom that you have found. Like, you know, if you have you stuff in a folder somewhere and it remind you that you've got some other Boom activity, it doesn't have to be mine. You might have a different Boom activity that covers that particular goal, you know, so.
Gotcha. Yeah. We got another pretty good question about the publisher groups. Do you follow one another in the Facebook publisher group or read blogs from other publishers to see what's going on? Is there any inspiration for your work coming from communicating with other authors? I guess is what I'm really asking. This is for anybody. Maybe Emily.
I haven't really participated in like the Facebook groups so much, but I have followed some of the other sellers. And one thing I will say is that the Boom community is very supportive of one another. You know, you might think, oh, competition, I don't want to help another math teacher or this and that, but it's so not the case. And I communicate a lot of times by email, and I would say, well, I'm having a little trouble with this deck. And, you know, I know some people have way more experience and they are so helpful. And I know I've emailed you 100 times. I can't get this layering thing to work. So I think people are very supportive and helpful, whichever way you reach out to them. Don't do it alone. You don't have to.
Yeah, that's good to hear, actually.
The publisher Facebook community I found is all I really need to use when I go and I have a question. I think it's great, and everyone is ready to step up and help, no matter how insignificant you might think your question is. Everyone's right there to jump in.
I actually haven't seen the Boom developer group, so I guess I'll have to hop online and get into that one.
Yeah, it might be helpful to see. I'm gonna share my screen actually very briefly, just to show something about the store that may help everyone who's attending. Here's just an example from Sitting in History, a listing. But if we go back to Emily's page, we can follow Emily right here with this button. And then to find your followers, you go to your settings, and they're over here in the social tab. Oh, here's just some random examples of authors I'm following. But yes, this can help you if you like the work that one of these publishers is making. You can go follow them, and then you'll see new things they publish and be notified. And it will also help us tailor the store page for you for things you need specifically, which will help the publishers pop up more often for you. We're almost out of time. There's only a couple minutes, so I just want to again thank you all for being here. I had a lot of fun hosting this webinar with you. I love your Boom cards. I think they're colorful and awesome and very inspiring. I want to make them and learn from them all at the same time. We've added some information in the chat for everyone attending. There's a feedback survey for us. It's just so you can tell us to do better or just thank us maybe if you'd like. There is another panel coming up. There's actually two. The webinar for Boom for Music and Occupational Therapy panels are coming up next. We are recording this for everybody, and it will be put on our YouTube channel, hopefully by Friday. I'm going to work really hard to get all those videos on YouTube and Vimeo, so we'll have FAQs with the symposium uploaded for you there. And that's about it for me. I would let everybody go and to join the next panel or to go about your lovely day. And I want to thank you all again for being here. And I'm signing off. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for the opportunity. It was great.
Thanks for all the participants for listening in.
Thank you.